Over a century ago, the great organizer, thinker, and activist Rosa Luxemburg said, "The most revolutionary thing one can do is always to proclaim loudly what is happening." Today marks the 1 year anniversary of the killing of 23-year-old journalist Hassam Shabat by an Israeli airstrike. Hassam's last piece was filed mere hours before his death. Up until the end, he upheld this mantra of proclaiming loudly the atrocities that his people faced, and he was murdered from it. I wanted to read what his brother, Wissam Shabat, posted today on social media. Quote, "Today marks the anniversary of the martyrdom of my brother, the journalist, Hassam Shabat. He always stood in the face of the enemy with his camera and his free voice, fearing none but God, bearing witness to the truth until his very last moment. My brother, I lost you before my eyes, and I was helpless, unable to do anything. That moment still lives within me every single day. You were martyred for the sake of truth because you spoke what had to be said and revealed what they tried to hide. The occupation does not accept the voice of truth, but it can never silence it. Your words will remain alive, and your voice will stay with us. It will never die. May God have mercy on you, my brother, and grant you the highest place in paradise. You were a hero, and you will always be." Hassam is one of the hundreds of journalists who have died over the last 2.5 years trying to shed light on the war crimes of the U.S. and Israel, and he showed infinitely more courage and conviction with his limited resources than the staggeringly rich and powerful media organizations that dominate the American airwaves. The war with Iran rages on, but not just with Iran. The battle's intensifying in Lebanon, in Iraq, in Yemen, the West Bank, and all across the region. None of us get to choose titles, but I think there's a good chance this will not be called the Iran War in the history books, but rather the Great West Asian War if things continue the way they are. But of course, it's hard to know because the guy leading our side says it's already over and that it's just beginning and that it will fully start soon and that it ended a week ago and that it will last for years and that it never happened at all. And by the time he's finished that sentence, his forces have already bombed another hospital or two or three. So let's get into it. What you need or what does need? How are they eating and the socialist need? Everything I can need, oh I need, oh I need, oh I need, oh what does need? Oh what does need? Oh what does need? Oh what does need?
Welcome to Workers Lit, the podcast about fighting for the narrative. It's all three of us today. No guest, just us holding it down.
There's one guest that might emerge a little later. Sheila comes as she pleases.
Well, she's actually the boss, not even a guest.
She's sort of the general secretary, yeah.
We surrender up all of our surplus value to Sheila. She herself is not a worker, of course. We discussed this extensively.
She's neither a worker nor the bourgeoisie, but a secret third thing.
It's a cat. She's a cat.
It's a cat. Yeah, that's the secret third.
She's the lumpen bourgeois.
Honestly, that is kind of like where pets fall, right? Like
so sick.
Yeah, I like that. The lumpen bourgeois.
Like they don't own anything, but like they reap stuff nonetheless, you know?
Yes, right. You have the benefits. Well, before we get into the really, kind of more gnarly stuff that we already talked about, famously on the show, we're all really big fans of Chuck Norris. And of course, we're all collectively really devastated by the news that Chuck Norris, Lenore, how did Chuck Norris die?
I'll tell you the truth. I thought he'd been dead for like 10 years. Like
I was hoping to set you up for a James Dobson style joke, but that's also funny.
I think that's still my most favorite. My most like the skeet that's done the most numbers is how what did I say, that James Dobson died like sucking himself off or something?
Yeah, and then he turned into a penile Ouroboros.
Yeah, that's right.
Penile Ouroboros. I got such a mental picture of that.
Ben Shapiro. We did the video of Ben Shapiro being like, "It's actually quite terrifying. He turned himself into a penile Ouroboros." This is so good.
I've retired that voice. That's not coming. That's not coming back.
Scroll back in our Instagram feed if you want to see, or go to our Ben Shapiro, multiple Ben Shapiro's episode. Ben's Shapiro.
Ben's Shapiro.
You beat me to it.
I thought that Chuck Norris had died in like 2020 or 2021 as one of those I ain't getting no vaccine and then died of COVID. I was convinced that that's what had happened to him.
Got the what do you call it? The Herman Cain Award.
Yeah, or the meatloaf. That's what happened to him.
I know, like
Trump's brother. People didn't talk enough about that. Trump's brother was one of those guys.
Oh, I did not know that.
I didn't recall that Trump had a brother.
Yeah, well, Trump barely recalled. In his statement, he put out a 2-paragraph statement about his brother dying, and the second paragraph was, he said I was the greatest president of all time. Here are the reasons.
Oh, I love that.
Norris, all I remember about him is that he was a Mike Huckabee guy in 2016, which is how you know he's a real freak.
He fucked heavy with Huckabee.
Mm-hmm.
He fucked heavy. He Fuckabee. Is that anything? I don't know.
Fuckabee?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mike Huckabee, come on the show.
Yeah. Anyway, we're giving all the Chuck Norris jokes. Those are all things that Jen is actually able to do. So we're reclaiming that today.
It's true. When I do a push-up, I actually push the earth away from myself.
Mm-hmm,
How did those fucking jokes get started? They were never. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm doing revisionist history, but I really don't think they were ever funny.
They were like ironic, right? It was like the same time as the mustache on the finger tattoo. I feel like that's all the same genre of millennial slop.
It's very like coworker core, yeah. Like, I've seen conflicting sources claim that this stuff was about like Vin Diesel that came out of like his movie The Pacifier, and they were just like exaggerating. Okay, like this guy who's like defending toddlers or whatever is actually like the most powerful, right? There's that. I thought I was corrected that it was like Mr. T stuff at first. I don't know. People will tell you different things.
What's definitely true is Chuck Norris doesn't die. Death gets Norrised.
Death
is what I've
Norris.
That's what I've been informed of, but turns out not the case. He just died like a normal person.
Did he have cancer or something? Something boring?
No, it was another penile Ouroboros.
Like,
it was another penile Ouroboros situation that's going
shit.
around.
See, he never struck me as flexible.
It's not a pattern until it happens 3 times.
Yeah, well, I hate to tell you what happened to Robert Mueller.
That guy's tall too. That would have been some freak shit.
Does tall not make it easier? I feel like with a long spine, you have a little more room to work with. Like,
you gotta be built like a fucking ferret. Yeah.
Yeah, my short ass could never.
Yeah. Well, on a hard pivot that I cannot absolutely. Speaking of short, Trump claims this is going to be a short war? Question mark? I don't know.
That's good. No, I'll take that.
So before we get into talking about just like the discourse around this, the communication, the absolute blitz, let's talk a little bit about what's actually happening with the war with Iran, which is also now the war with Lebanon and the war with Iraq, and who knows what the war with next. And by the time, we're recording this on the 24th, the evening of the 24th, there's no telling what developments have occurred in like a few hours this takes to get up, but worth throwing that out there. But what we discuss will be relevant regardless of exactly how things continue to play out. I'll just say off the top, highly doubtful of any Trump claim of just about anything he's making in this moment. I mean, that should always be the case, but like, come on.
All the things that you said that he said about the war, like it's gonna start, it's already over, that it'll last like for years. Those are things like, I think he's made all those claims within like 90 seconds at the same press junket.
He said today, quote, they gave us a present. It was amazing, actually, and it arrived today. It was a very big present worth a tremendous amount of money. I'm not going to tell you what that present was, but it was a very significant prize, end quote.
That was finished his ballroom.
That Iran gave it to him to be nice. It was a gigantic wooden horse, if you wouldn't. Good.
I'm sure there's nothing inside of it.
Yeah.
Solid wood.
Do you think this is one, funny but not as funny as option 2? A lie, or 2, Donald Trump's staff is to make him happy, giving him gifts from Iran, because that's even funnier.
Yeah, I don't think that he thinks. Watching some of his where he said we won, it's gonna go on forever, it's already ended, like that, like 40-minute time period where he said all those things. I just it would be sad if it was your grandpa, you know,
Sure.
like it would be like, "Oh, okay, grandpa, let's go have a snack," you know, like I guess that's just proof that MAGA is such a cult that they can't even stop this. Like it doesn't even seem like it works in the favor of MAGA. Like they could just get rid of him and put Vance up there, which I think would probably make them look better. I think it would calm liberals down. It would make so much sense for the project of the GOP to just do the old switcheroo, but like it's such a cult that they won't even like criticize dear leader, even though he wouldn't even remember it tomorrow. Like I
Right.
don't.
There are elements within the coalition that are criticizing it, but like there's like the guy that resigned from his like national security thing, but like the
Right.
people at the top, even though it's pretty widely known that JD Vance thought this war was a bad idea, he's
Right.
still like completely gone out there and defended it, even though he said it was a bad idea. Like it's like,
Because it
there's no,
is.
yeah, because it's a stupid plan, and you know that's not giving credit.
Financially, like economically,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
trade wise,
I mean,
obviously people don't want their kids to die in war. Like it's illogical from literally every standpoint. I guess unless you're like whatever. I mean, I think the last several presidents would have done this if they had the opportunity. I just don't think that this was the opportunity, and yet they took it anyway.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I have all kinds of theories as to why now. My number one is I kind of have this thought that maybe they feel like this is their last real shot to do anything, that they really feel like this whole like sweet period of being able to get away with everything in the Middle East is cracking up, that some of these Gulf monarchies are not as stable as they like to pretend to be. Obviously, Israel is not as stable as it likes to pretend to be, things like that. I think that's part of it. I think part of it is Trump is a uniquely weak guy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I people want to talk about like blackmail or whatever. I tend to whatever. I don't know what blackmail who has on what, but like the United States wants to go to war with Iran. Like I don't put a lot of credence behind like, oh, Israel did a whole trick to make it happen. Like they didn't have to trick very hard. Maybe there were lies told about how easy it would be, but that's not
Right.
the same thing as like this was not US policy for like the last 40 years.
Yeah. The
Mm-hmm.
blackmail
Mm-hmm.
thing doesn't make any sense because we all are very aware of what's in the Epstein files.
Right.
You know, even people that are diehard Trumpers know some to an extent, and they just are like, oh, it's not that big a deal. Oh, 15's fine, or whatever the fuck they say. Like, there's blackmail is illogical because I think we're far past the point of anything even mattering when it comes to any of our leaders, really. It's been shocking to me for this, like, Cesar Chavez stuff that came out and how
Mm-hmm.
quickly people were like, okay, well, we're going to change the name of the streets and we're going
Mm-hmm.
to make it more of a farm workers day instead of a holiday for him. And like, there was all this like really quick action, which is good. Like, I think that's fine and that should happen. And maybe it's just because the people that support that side of things are more on the left already.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Governor Abbott came out and was like, we're not celebrating Cesar Chavez Day this year. And I'm like, you fully support Trump though. Like, it's so the inconsistency, like, I guess is the point because nothing matters anymore.
Yeah, it's like, Greg hates Cesar Chavez because he's a white supremacist.
Right.
We hate him because he was a predator. We're not the same. All that sort of thing. Like
Yeah.
it's true,
It's a matter of
absolutely. Like,
principle, yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. The principle is what it comes down to. We have to be more willing to purge opportunists and predators from our ranks, our memory. But also, like, in the same way that they are not, right, in the same way that MAGA, in the same way that the right wing of the ruling class and the ruling class, like, writ large, tends to cover their own, right? That's a problem that I think stems from their iron control at this stage over legacy media, right? Apart from some criticisms here and there, which we'll get into, of varying value and varying, like, sincerity, right? They're on board with the war in Iran, A. And B, like, this is also why we can't trust anything coming out of, not just the White House, but also what's said about, like, the USS Abraham Lincoln, the Gerald Ford, like, our military assets in the region. I think there is a very real and concerted effort to to mask the full extent of A, how badly we're getting dog walked over there, and B, how extensive is the mutiny going on. Jacob, of course, you were successful in your mission to clog up all the toilets on the Ford, but that was just the tip of the iceberg as it
That's just
happens.
beginning. Lenore, don't you understand that the Gerald Ford caught fire and 600 rooms or 600 like bunks worth of rooms were destroyed, and now it's had to dock because of a dryer fire? That's what we're
Double up,
supposed to
boys.
believe. Like, come on! Like, isn't that more embarrassing that if you got then getting hit by a missile during a war, if your
Mhm.
dryers don't fucking work? Like, I'm running my dryer right now, and guess what? I'm not worried about it at all. I guess that's a W for me and an L for the U.S. military. Like, it's stupid either way.
I put my clothing in the dryer and then like I leave for work trusting that it won't burn down my house. Maybe that's not like 100% kosher, but like it's more reliable if the media is to be believed than the ones on a fucking nuclear carrier.
No, I was to say I don't trust 19-year-old boys to be able to do their laundry properly.
Sure, but
True,
like,
true.
but it burned down a significant portion of an aircraft carrier. You know, like,
Yeah.
maybe they washed or put a grenade in the wash. Boom.
If any carrier were going to be taken out that way, it would be the Ford, let's be honest.
It's so bulky. Being big is not. Yeah, people don't understand. Just being a big ship is not inherently a good. No, I was just gonna say like the F-35 that just got shot down, which Iran put out. First of all,
Yeah.
they said, "Oh, it didn't get shot down." Then Iran put out video of shooting it down. They said, "Well, it wasn't shot down. It was shot and it had a crash landing." And it's like, which like we were doing the same shit in Vietnam. We were literally, if you look at like records of planes shot down in Vietnam, we were saying all the time like it was a mechanical failure and so we crashed. Which again, like, okay, so you didn't make your planes good, like that's impressive. Like whatever. I don't understand like the propaganda apparatus. They were really upset that the Strike Eagles perfect record got broken because Iran shot 3 of them out of the sky, and then to make themselves feel better, they said it was a Kuwaiti pilot that shot down 3 of them in a friendly fire incident. So, either that's a lie or it's the most based Kuwaiti pilot of all time who decided he was going to flip sides. And either way, we take that as a win.
I mean, didn't Hegseth get up there and like yell at the media about reporting like unfavorably? He basically was like, "Don't report any news that like makes us look bad."
Yes.
Which
And they're
like,
tightening Pentagon press rules right now.
right,
They just
yeah.
announced
And
yesterday.
like you mentioned Vietnam, like that's always been the case. It's just harder to do now because Iran is putting out Lego animation propaganda videos about how they're absolutely decimating the US military.
That bit in that one that y'all showed, was it Jen? Was it you or
Jacob
Jacob?
shared that, but
Yeah,
the one with emojis, yeah.
that bit with Trump speaking Farsi killed me.
Really good.
Oh,
Well,
that video is really good. And it explains it so simply, which is nice for Americans. Yeah.
that said, the damage being done to Iran and Lebanon is
It's bad.
massive.
Yes,
We
yeah,
don't
we
want
don't
to
wanna downplay that.
underplay. It's not like, oh, Iran is whatever. Like, no, the civilian and military and the economic cost is titanic. So,
Mhm.
on the one hand, we don't want to downplay that remotely. The U.S. military is extremely powerful. The Israeli military is extremely powerful. It just also so happens that they are not omnipotent. So,
Right, that's the thing. The scale of our military hegemony and all the equipment that it commands means that we can afford to just throw this shit away, right?
mhm.
To have so much of it be turned into scrap metal by our enemies because our resources are not bottomless, but close to as
Well,
possible.
we are learning that with the whole Hormuz situation. But do you want me to go over the sort of facts I've laid out, or do one of y'all want to go through them?
Let's see. Well, what we got here, among other things, Tehran's tourism chief Ahmad Alavi reports that 120 registered historical sites have undergone extensive damage since the start of the war, especially in Tehran.
Tehran, by the way, one of the oldest cities in the world. I mean, we're
Mhm.
talking about like culture, like America, the United States, I should say, is a blip compared to the ancient, how old and legendary that city is.
That's such a good point. Yeah. Historical sites in Tehran are like thousands of years old. Historical sites in the US are like something that happened in like 1910.
Right.
Hmm. And like the the real historical sites that indigenous cultures left behind have been, there's some of them preserved, but they've largely been built over.
Well, good
Yeah.
thing that we've stopped destroying cultural heritage sites. So, we're just doing it's interesting. It's the way that like this shit we did here, like we want to fucking do it everywhere.
That's
Hmm.
You know.
what
Hmm.
colonialism is. Yeah.
Mhm.
Per the Red Crescent, as of now, over 82,000 civilian targets have been struck in Iran. Again, that's civilian targets by Israeli or American forces. Of course, we've seen the videos of Tehran, like the sky being blacked out by smoke,
Yeah.
literal apocalyptic imagery, which, to the delight, no doubt, of a lot of the people at the Pentagon who listen to Adventures in Odyssey.
If the war ended tomorrow in complete Iranian victory and
Hmm.
everything, people will be suffering cancer from a generation from that alone.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. Which there will be fewer hospitals to treat that, of course, because 498 healthcare treatment centers, emergency services have been targeted, including 17 centers of the Red Crescent. Three medical helicopters have been lost, 48 ambulances destroyed. And of course, this is expanding rapidly beyond the scope of Iran. Iraq's in on this. Israel's launched a full scale invasion of Lebanon.
The attack on Lebanon is particularly notable because this is kind of picking up where they left off from, a year and a half ago. There was a very large battle between Hezbollah and Israel in southern Lebanon in the like September of 2024, which was a pretty resounding defeat for Hezbollah overall. I mean, Israel took its licks, but it was Hezbollah got beaten pretty bad in that war. And it was vicious. It was brutal. Um, there was the claim, a very Trump-esque claim, that Hezbollah is completely gone. There's no will to fight anymore. It's completely done. All of it's gone. The war's over. Turns out, very much not the case. Hezbollah has reformed or reorganized and has been able to fight back. But what's happening in southern Lebanon is, I mean, a quarter of Lebanon is displaced right now as we speak. A quarter of the country. Uh, Israel Katz, which is the name of the Israeli defense minister, says Israel is laying claim to all land south of the Litani River. There are hundreds of thousands of people that have left there. And he said that the plan for Lebanon is, these are his words, the Rafah model. That's what he said.
Jesus.
What the fuck?
Early casualty counts unfortunately reflect that this is not a lie. Civilian infrastructure devastated, energy sabotage, children murdered at disproportionate rates, journalists and healthcare workers targeted in severe numbers. Israel openly admits that they are now targeting ambulances. They said that in their own pressers. Um,
The way that they talk, sorry, I shouldn't have cut you off there, but like
you're
the
fine.
way
Go
that
ahead.
they talk about this shit openly, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is stuff that we've been saying all along that they're doing this, but like in the weeks after the big attack in 2023, October 7th, right? You would be smeared and ridiculed endlessly for
Mm-hmm.
daring to suggest that Israel was targeting Palestinian hospitals deliberately. And now they just say, oh, yeah, this is what we're doing. There are going to be no international consequences. There never have been for decades. So, we can just openly talk this way now.
Well, Bezalel Smotrich, the Israeli finance minister, and he's also just very important in like the coalition, Netanyahu's governing coalition, is saying it's time to start setting up settlements in southern Lebanon while our military is there. So like the project of expansionism very much alive, and very much the goal. Uh, like we said, I don't want to make it seem like it's remotely hopeless. Hezbollah by no means is the same thing as like the IRGC, but they
Hmm.
are, they are people that are willing to fight back. People want to like abstract it, just say the name and be like whatever, freaked out. These are mostly people who are Hezbollah fighters. If you look into it, they're mostly like teenagers whose parents died in the last war, or
Mm-hmm.
like people in their their 20s. There's older people as well, but disproportionately much younger. And they're just people like that are fighting this. And I will say that there have been multiple attempts at ground invasions of Lebanon already that have been, they're sorties, but they have been repelled. A big ground invasion is coming almost inevitably, unless something crazy happens. I mean, they're already rolling forward. It is very likely that we're going to see another full scale Lebanon war. Israel and the United States are working very hard to start a civil war in Lebanon right now between southern and northern Lebanon, with the ultimate goal of northern Lebanon being sort of a rump state, and southern Lebanon just becoming part of Israel is the goal of the Israeli right wing, which is overwhelmingly dominant in the government. I don't think I don't think the American government gives a shit one way or another what Israel does in Lebanon. It's just like, yeah, take care of that. Um,
Right.
it's fucking horrible. And I also say, like, while we're at it, um, numerous report came out from Politico. Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman, is apparently in Trump's ear telling him, do not stop this war. He wants it
Oh
to keep
shit.
on going.
Wow.
Because Saudi Arabia is also, we should not overlook them. They are a vicious country, right wing country in their own right. Uh, Ask Yemen, but also ask Yemen about, like, resistance, because Yemen kicked their ass, and may kick their ass again. We're gonna see, but that is also a live thing. And I will say, talking about saying the quiet part out loud, for years, the whole, like, gaslighting of we would never hit ambulances or hospitals.
Mm-hmm.
Saudi Arabia, one of their communications ministers just said, like, on a public thing, it was like, oh yeah, no, Wahhabist Islam was like a thing we did with the United States, like the like radical Wahhabist Islam. It was just like a plan we put together to, like, turn people against, like, socialism. Like, they just said that. It's just like the shit that they've been saying we were crazy for decades for saying. They're just saying it now.
It's their version of, like, our guys coming out and saying, yeah, a lot of what's done by the National Endowment for Democracy,
Mm-hmm.
what in the open, was covertly done by the CIA once upon a time, right? It's long past the point of any sort of accountability.
To be clear, really quickly, Wahhabist Islam, like, was not come up with by the American, like, but the radical strain of Wahhabist Islam that you see emerging around the 60s, 70s, and going forward, and what we see now, what we associate with, like, Islamic terrorism in the, like, ISIS sense of the word.
Mm-hmm.
That is what I'm referring to. Obviously, Wahhabism is an older tradition. I just wanted to make sure I was clear about that. But yeah, that is. I mean, they just said that was what they were doing. Just whatever. Which, again, we've known, but, like, it's the type of shit that, like, they would not even dare to say years ago.
It's so frustrating on obviously, like, a million levels, right? And, like, the the little bit that we should be, like, feeling vindicated for, like, the tankies were correct once again, it's like there's not even anything to gloat about because it's so fucked up, right? Like, you can't even be like, haha, I told you so, because thousands of people are dying, and, like, this facade, that was, like, world democracy, that was, like, the UN, that was this idea that there would be these systems we put into place after the Second World War to, like, make sure never again, all that shit, right? That we've heard so many times in our history books and in any movie, and, like, the politicians say all the time, right? And, like, watching it mean literally nothing. And I feel like we've all seen this in our lifetimes a few times, but, like, there's something just so naked about it now, and maybe part of that's because Trump has no filter, and, like,
Nor does anyone around him, Hegseth or any of
nobody,
these guys.
and the Israelis are just saying, yeah, we're gonna do it. The Saudis are like, yeah, we're totally cool with all this, and, like, there's no system in place to hold anybody accountable. Things that are supposed to be war crimes, things that are supposed to be, like, the worst. We don't do this to other people. Like, they just admit it because there is no system of accountability, until I guess we really do need, like, a global proletarian revolution to actually make any of this shit work, stick, hold these people upside down from lampposts or whatever needs to happen.
Well, and, like, you want to talk about, like, no system of accountability, right? It's the same people who were calling for Iraq to be nuked, who were
Yes.
defending the war to the hilt, are now talking about this shit today. Of course, this will be a little bit later in the episode, I imagine, but, Thomas Friedman, your liberal dad's favorite conservative columnist, is out there saying, okay, well, I'm opposed to the Iran war in principle, but I hope this comes about. We can't let it distract from, like, this or that, the other about Trump, but, like, it can have, like, good knock-on effect. No, that's
He's named that because he likes freedom so much, Lenore.
Oh.
If he didn't like freedom, why would he be named Freedman? Think about it.
God, so much for my
You're
English
so
degree.
smart.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying. And his name's Thomas because wait, I've got this. Because
Because he's making some real nice declarations. Welcome to the present. We're running a real nation.
no. Because he's like the Apostle Thomas. I don't know. I've lost
Is
it.
there
Sorry.
an apostle named Thomas?
Yeah, doubting. You never heard of Doubting Thomas?
No.
Jen, Thomas was okay. I'll tell you really quickly.
Tune in
Thomas
next
was
week for our episode on the Bible.
no Thomas.
I don't want that.
Thomas was the disciple that when Jesus came back from the dead, he wasn't there when Jesus showed up. And so all the guys told him, and he was like, that's clearly not true. And then Jesus showed up again, and Thomas was like, I gotta like feel the wounds in your hands and stuff to make sure this is real. And he like stuck his fingers through the holes that Jesus had in his hands from the crucifixion.
I'm sorry.
Thomas wasn't
And
actually
then-
skeptical. He was just a freak with it.
And then that's how he
fingered
believed.
Jesus's stigmata. This is in the Bible. Are you?
Yes, this is in the Bible.
Is this a kink thing? First of all, doubting that this man came back from the dead, I feel like is a logical thing. As of right now, this guy is my favorite apostle. He
Jen,
questions.
John 20. John 20, I'm telling you, it's
Hold
there.
on.
John 20, look at it.
I do have a Bible here in my bookshelf. This is my childhood Bible.
Because back in 25, he said to them, unless I see the nail marks in his hands and put my finger where the nails were and put my hands into his side, I will not believe.
A week later, his disciples were in the house again, and Thomas was with them. Though the doors were locked, Jesus came and stood among them and said,
Fucking bet he did.
Jesus came. It didn't say came in. It just said Jesus came. And then he fingered his holes. It's right here in my pink Bible.
You know, I never even thought anything about it at all until you made that point.
This is why you're gay, is from this book.
Yeah, it's possible. It's distinctly possible. Anyway, the fight back is happening in Iran. It is. Iran continues to blockade the Strait of Hormuz against forces aligned with the United States and Israel, driving global markets wild. There are Iranian missiles slamming targets across the region 24 hours a day. U.S. bases, ships, and military infrastructure have been hit. Cluster munitions have begun to hit hard, especially in places like Tel Aviv. Hezbollah's fired nearly 100 waves of rockets at the time of recording, has won several ground skirmishes. Militias in Iraq have set fire to the green zone several times. Civilian uprisings in Bahrain have tied up its government and parts of the Saudi military, and all eyes currently are on Ansar Allah, the Houthis, who claim they are ready and willing to close the Red Sea entirely and further escalate the economic crisis. There is some reluctance on both sides to strike oil refineries and energy. Not a lot of reluctance because there have been hits on both sides, but it's been very tit for tat. It's been like Israel tests it, hits something, Iran hits something equally back, but Trump has told Israel to stop. He he did actually like give a tepid criticism of them this weekend and said they would stop. But then Trump said on Sunday that if Iran doesn't open the Strait of Hormuz, he's going to blow up all their energy in the entire country. He said they had 48 hours. And then he said, well, talks with Iran are going so well that I'll give them until next weekend. Iran said there's literally been no talks at all. They deny that this has happened. It's also worth noting when Trump made that threat, a bunch of Iranian citizens started like doing this thing where they were like standing, like holding hands around their power plants and stuff like that, being like daring Trump to hit them.
Shit.
But we're in a weird place. Yeah, Iran says that they're not willing to talk unless some very specific demands get met. That they are not willing to give up their ballistic missile program. That they need money for the destruction wrought in their country. They need concrete guarantees this will never happen again. The Iranians' foreign minister made the point that they fought a 12-day war with Israel earlier last year, and that ended. And just for this to start again, and they need to know that this shit's not going to happen again.
It's gonna keep happening until they actually get a nuke. They're gonna have to actually develop it for that to happen, which I think is really unfortunate. I'd rather see the whole Earth like denuclearize. Sure. But we'll keep same thing for Cuba. Like DPRK, if you're listening, please send Iran and Cuba a couple of nukes, because that's really the only thing is a deterrent. Like that's the only reason we don't fuck with DPRK.
Mm-hmm.
or Russia. And we do Russia like through proxies. Like, well,
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know.
and well, and like the what little I know about the leadership shuffles going on since we did that like decapitation strike early in the war was so many of the people getting promoted are like IRGC like hardliners who are in this like for the long haul, right? And who
Mhm.
are not as opposed to the development of a nuclear weapon as the previous supreme leader was. A lot of people don't know this. Like he issued an edict against the building of one like years and years and years ago.
For like religious purposes, he was
Mm-hmm.
like, "This is not the right thing to do."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Khamenei Senior ordered a fatwa against nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And like
Unclear whether his son will be as intense about it after he watched his father and multiple members of his family die and was himself, according to most reports, injured in the same strike. It's unclear how hurt he is, but he is probably a little bit injured from that
Mhm.
strike. Like, there's been some reports that some Russian doctors like had to help him out with some stuff, and he hasn't appeared on camera. Though some of that may also be for him, not getting
Safety.
assassinated
Yeah.
purposes.
mm-hmm.
Um,
Did you
still,
see
like,
that apparently the former president Mahmoud Ahmadinejad was reported killed, but apparently like he's fine. Like they don't know where he is right
reports of
now,
my
but he's
death have been greatly exaggerated, as
well,
they say.
yeah. Like the strike ended up like taking out like his guards, like a bunch of like where he was being held, and now he's on some like grand adventure.
Good for
Well,
him.
a bunch of like they killed like a number of officials in high ranking
Yes.
positions,
Mhm.
and I just saw in the deposition in Congress Tulsi Gabbard speaking. Remember Tulsi Gabbard?
I
Crazy
wish
that
I
she
could.
runs intelligence
Yeah,
for this
remember when she
country.
was anti-war?
Yep.
I do remember that. I just
Mhm.
remember everybody thought she was so hot. They were like, "Let's have a hot president."
In that deposition with Tulsi Gabbard, you had a U.S. senator say, "So it seems we may have not understood Iranian culture because it turns out martyrdom's a big thing over there, and it actually gets them
Wow.
more fired up." And it's like,
Wow.
you stupid motherfuckers.
Wow.
What's that one meme that's like, oh, like this is deeply affecting, like if you're Japanese because of the Japanese concept,
Oh,
which means to die. Like,
yeah, no, it says murder is actually really frowned on in Japan. It goes against the traditional concept of likuru, which means to live.
see, when Aisha said the other day that like the West, like America, right, has never been capable of understanding the East at all, whether it's like the Middle East, whether it's China, whether it's any other like geopolitical enemy in the global South, right? We don't fucking get it, right? We don't get that. Oh, like this going in and smashing up this country won't get them to submit. Like the next generation is going to look at that and say, well, fuck that. We need to make that stop happening.
Right. It's like when
Right.
you talk about a war with China, and it's like you're talking about a population that has starvation, mass starvation, and living memory, and has in a generation risen to being like a nuclear powered country. Like a country with that kind of like, yeah, people don't fucking get it.
Mhm.
It's there's this idea that like that the rest of the world are people that can simply react to the things that the protagonists do, us being the protagonists, and not that there's any kind of individuality or agency.
Or
Um,
or not that like any alternative to our particular political economy can bring such a rise in the physical quality of life to so many people, right? Like
right.
you can tell people that yeah, they've abolished, I'm not saying China doesn't have problems, every country does, but you can tell people that they've abolished like absolute poverty and they'll just stare at you like you started speaking in I don't know, pick a
A
language.
language that, yeah,
They don't, yeah.
in
Reminder
Finnish.
about how the U.S. doesn't understand the East in the Star Trek future. World War III starts in the year 2026, and
Awesome.
the belligerents are the U.S. and France against the Eastern Coalition, and it ends in 30% of like life on Earth being taken out.
Not you. If you listen to this podcast, though, you're covered. Don't worry.
Not
Yeah.
you.
Well,
Your
and keep in
fault.
mind, like trillions and trillions of life forms on Earth are like insects and stuff, so you have a pretty good shot.
That's what it includes, like plant and animal, like 30% of
Mhm.
everything. Yeah.
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 The 30%, the humans. No. So to getting into the messaging around this war, we have just the worst dipshits I mean, like even by American standard, we've got Pete Hegseth going up there and just yelling at people, getting really mad, saying that the war is not being reported properly, calling people treasonous.
I mean, it's
You've
not being
got
reported properly, but
right.
not for the
You've got
reasons he
Trump
says.
being deeply confusing mostly. Trump said today, he goes, the war's almost over, but if they don't want to do a deal, his words, we'll just bomb our little hearts out. That's a
Oh my
direct
gosh.
quote. Like
Jesus.
just the way he talks, it just doesn't make sense. Then you've got like social media. Obviously, AI is contributing significantly to, videos that are fake or videos that are, it's like, can I believe things I'm seeing? There's a lot of accounts that'll post videos from other regions of the world and claim it's from the war. There was this big thing going around for a minute. It's still going around a little bit. The people saying that like Netanyahu died, like that was a whole like elaborate thing for a couple days. Which I understand the hopefulness there. But like it's a weird media environment that we are in. Like you can't go to any of the major news to get, your news accurately. But you also aren't necessarily getting truth on social media. You're going to get some blend of it. Real stuff's going to break through, but unfortunately, like the invention of like social media, like we had not mastered that shit before AI generation came along. That's the thing. Like we had not figured our shit out yet. We were not ready for this like second blow to our collective psyche, to be honest. That
Have you
said,
considered Truth Social has the
right,
best of both? It has the
that's true.
truth and it is
And the
social media.
social. That's true.
Yeah.
What I am seeing though is like through it all, stuff still can break through. Like unlike previous wars, without this stuff, it is still ultimately a truth teller, I suppose. And there's been uh, a lot of repression of actually filming things going on in the affected regions as well. Israel has very strict rules around filming strikes on the country that they even force on like American journalists. I mean, you even see like CNN was reporting live the other day. Some bombs came in and they had to turn the cameras down so they didn't show where things hit or what was hit. But you also have that going on in the Gulf states. It's very, very strict. And places like I saw Dubai, like straight up was like banning Telegram accounts that were just posting, that normal people were just posting videos of their neighborhoods in. And as for Iran itself, Iran also has some stringent internet restrictions, but also just straight up the Iranian internet and the American. There is like disconnection between there. It's not quite the same as the Chinese setup, but there's not nearly as much overlap. So to see anything at all gets very confusing. But phone videos do break through. We do like learn bit by bit what's happening. And unfortunately, journalists become a target as a result of that.
Yeah, it is. It is that we. It's interesting to think about because, like, we talked to Julia Serrano not long ago about how the media landscape has gotten so fucking weird as fewer and fewer people go to legacy media as it becomes increasingly, illegitimate and nakedly partisan, right? Like, and that fragmentation, I tend to agree. I think we came to the conclusion that like it's a net good because like it has never been easier to get in contact with people like on the front lines, like directly doing work, right? But it also, I don't know, it's of a piece with this increasingly brazen disregard for, the so-called rules of war, right? How many journalists have been slaughtered in, since the start of the this phase of the genocide in Palestine, right? How many, I mean, they're openly targeting medical assets now, right? As the line gets blurred between, what was, these separate institutional spheres and like regular everyday actors, where does, I don't know, where does it end?
Proletarian revolution.
Yeah, yeah, one hopes.
True, but to unite, yeah, I mean, absolutely, but also to unite a critical section of the working class, like we've got to be on some level of the same page about things. And
Yes.
therein comes the backside of this is that fragmentation of reality. Yes, it's awesome to see that like CNN can say something and it's not automatically taken as truth anymore, right? However, that does not automatically lead people into good places. There was just so many fragments of media spheres and this scramble to control them, to fight over them. And you have these like and in among those, you have this, emerging opportunistic right-wing anti-Israel sphere that people like Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, Nick Fuentes, um, and those are three individuals that I associate with them. They're all very different people with very different things going on. From Nick Fuentes being one thing, Candace Owens is I think just having a psychotic break, and Tucker Carlson I think wants to be president.
Oh yeah.
Candace Owens signed off her stream 2 days ago saying, "If I found Bridget Macron's penis, I can find Charlie Kirk's killer." Was how she signed off her stream the other
Wow.
day. That's
What
where
are you
she's at.
talking about, Candace?
That's where
My
she's
God.
at. Yeah, I
The
would
the
like not think
transing
about it. Top 10 most listened to podcasts in the United States, y'all,
Oh
is
my
her
god.
show.
I don't understand the need to trans her, because the fact that she was her husband's like tutor when he was 15, I think is so fucked up that like why do you need to make up other things? Like just drive that pedophile point home.
Well,
Mhm.
Jen, you have to understand that's actually
What?
the healthiest a French relationship has ever been. That's actually the least toxic French relationship. Sorry, French listeners.
We don't have any French listeners.
We do have French listeners. We less than 1% of our listenership is French, but they do show up. If you're French and you listen to this podcast, you know damn well that we're right, okay? And anyway, and it's okay. We know that this podcast is your brief respite between cheating on your wife. Anyway, um, um, well, it's so my point though about the Fuentes, Carlson, Owens, and their ilk, that type, is that I am happy to see the right wing fight each other. Don't get me wrong, but I think what we're seeing, especially with someone like Carlson, I can't get in the mind of a Fuentes. He's a freak, but in the mind of a Carlson, he's seeing, okay, this is a disaster. He's smart enough to see that, and he's smart enough to say, okay, so what comes next is going to have a new spin on things, and he's kind of trying to forge that next political movement. Marjorie Taylor Greene just said she wants him to run for president in 2028. I feel like that's going to be a thing. Sort of a new force. Don't be taken in by this shit, y'all. Don't be taken in by right wingers who are anti-Israel. Like they're not your friends. Um, it's good that there is daylight now in that coalition. I want the evangelicals to fight the whatever those folks call themselves, but not because that these are like. Uh, I will say I think it's a positive trend that there are people in society willing to listen to that now. I think that's good, but that it does shows a real failure on the like the liberal side, that like all the benefits of being, anti-Israel, anti-US imperialism are falling to right-wing freaks. That has become the prevalence of them because they have so sufficiently crushed left-wing anti-war opposition that the only person in the media that can get an interview with a high-ranking official like Ted Cruz or like Pete Hegseth or like Mike Huckabee is a Tucker Carlson type. The only person that's like going to be remotely anti-war, quote unquote, that can get one of those is going to be on the right, is a huge failure of the corporate liberal media.
Well, I mean, it's because they're fine with whatever pivot out of this war leads to a continued American ability to wage the next one, right? That's where the idea from these, from the Carlsonites, from the Fuentes people, right? That's where the idea comes from that they're really trying to push right now is, oh, like Trump was like deceived into this by Israel. Oh, like, like in the in the Iranian like propaganda video that we watch, the imagery of like Trump being puppeteered by Netanyahu, right? That's
Which is bullshit, of course.
It is bullshit. It is a pernicious narrative emerging on the right to absolve their specific slice of the ruling class of American imperialism, right? To externalize it, right? And it's something that it's something that we need to be vigilant against as we're having these conversations.
No doubt. But the communications coming out of the White House are really interesting because they've been posting meme videos. I don't know if you have seen those, but they were like posting like videos of like Deadpool like being like maximum effort, and then it shows an explosion and shit like that.
Yeah, I mean, this is the logical conclusion of the Ministry of Culture, right? This is the logical conclusion of Marvel, repeatedly becoming increasingly pro-military, pro-America in its messaging, right? It's like it can be very, very easily appropriated for this sort of thing.
I appreciated that they showed the clip of Kylo Ren yelling more, because if you look at that scene, that's a scene where Kylo Ren is shooting at a target that's not there while their enemies out while his enemies outsmart him. So actually, that's pretty accurate. I don't think they thought about that when they used the clip of him yelling more, but it's
Oh,
him
certainly not.
literally shooting at a ghost, like at a hologram. Sorry, spoilers for Last Jedi, I guess.
I'm just glad that like whatever like 19-year-old propagandist is putting these together. Like, I'm just glad he's not one of the reactionaries that watches anime, because
No, they used anime. They used anime. They used the Dragon Ball clip. They used a Dragon Ball clip in that shit.
Now they use fucking Yu-Gi-Oh! I remember now. Dan Green made a statement about it. Okay, never mind.
Yeah, they used some Yu-Gi-Oh! They used some Dragon Ball. They had Master Chief in there. They had
I'm
all kinds of
surprised they
shit.
didn't use fucking Light Yagami going all according to Keikaku.
They also did another one with Wii Sports where it was like strike, and then it would like show
that was
a fucking
terrible.
hospital blow up.
Oh,
Yeah, these Iran ones go real hard, especially compared to that crap.
Mm-hmm.
And it leads one to ask, like, what do they seek to gain with this line of messaging? Who does this have purchase with? Like, what
Right.
percentage of people out there are seeing that? It cannot be a winning coalition that sees that and thinks that that's cool.
It's just their base. It's just these like boomers with lead poisoning and their balls full of microplastics. Like that's the only people that like it, which isn't helping them. It's not going to help them. It doesn't matter though. They can do whatever they want.
And those people don't even know what like fucking Yu-Gi-Oh is. That's what's like baffling me. It's like, who is the intersection between like a Trump fan that also knows like who Master Chief and Deadpool are?
It's the MAGA version of, like I was thinking about last week, right? It's the MAGA version of the Democratic consultant class being out of touch with like society writ large.
Sure.
Right? This is what happens when you give somebody who just, up to then has just been like gooning or whatever to anime. This is what happens when you give them like tens of thousands of dollars to make slick propaganda videos for the state, right?
Yeah, I like that they're like they found like some 16-year-old to give like college credit to run Trump's Instagram. It's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Well, you talked about like the liberal opposition. I read through a good number of op-eds today from like liberals that were criticizing the war, in their own way.
Mm-hmm.
And I pulled one that I found to be the most representative of the general line of criticism that we're seeing. And I just pulled up like a couple paragraphs from it. I condensed it down. It's a much longer article, but this is from the New York Times op-ed. Thomas Friedman said, "To think clearly about Middle East wars, you need to hold multiple thoughts in your head at the same time. It's a complicated, kaleidoscopic region where religion, oil, tribal politics, and great power politics interweave in every major story. If you're looking for a black and white narrative, you might want to take up Checkers. So here are my 4 thoughts on Iran, at least for today." So already we've just got this glib asshole doing this like, I'm smarter than you shit.
This is the most fatuous dumbass on the payroll of the New York Times.
He says, "First, I hope this effort to topple the clerical regime in Tehran succeeds. Second, this will not be easy. Third,
that's
it. Well, there was more to it. I'm just quoting what his like points are.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Third, we must remember that the timing of the end of this war will be determined as much by the oil markets and the financial markets as by the military state of play. And fourth, we must not let this war to bring democracy and rule of law to Iran distract us from the threats to democracy and rule of law posed by Trump." And that's what criticism of this war broadly looks like from like liberal institutions. And it's saying Trump sucks and I hate him. And also it would be good if Iran became, an American puppet state. But also we hate Trump. So like count us. Maybe if they're really spicy, they'll say, and this is about the Epstein files. And Like, if
You
they're
want to talk
really
about
spicy.
holding multiple thoughts in your head at the same time? What an insane thing to say. Let me read that back. We must not let this war to bring democracy and the rule of law to Iran distract us from the threats to democracy and the rule of law posed by Trump. What an insane thing to espouse. Right? To look at somebody and say, well, this guy is a threat to democracy. He's a threat to, our culture, our physical quality of life, our safety. Like, we need to be vigilant about him here, but we can let him do what he wants over there. Like, all the bombing, all the chaos, all the violence, that's for, the global south. That's for the, imperial periphery. That's for the savages over there in the jungle, like here in the garden, and I'm quoting fucking, Joseph Borrell of the European Union, right? Like, this is how these people think, right? This is like, okay, well, civilization is here. It's well and good for us, right? And they just need to wait for us to go over there and uplift them. Fuck you, Thomas Friedman, you fucking white supremacist dumbass. Jesus Christ.
I feel like this is the same thing they were saying about Venezuela. They're like,
Yes.
Maduro's a dictator, but you can't just go and kidnap him. I mean, how many Democrats have spoken out about Cuba in the last few weeks?
Mm-hmm.
Besides,
I don't know
like,
of any.
Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar. Like, the only two I ever know are going to say the right thing. I haven't seen statements from prominent Democrats talking about lifting the embargo or getting fuel or anything. Like, they do not. I mean, imperialism is bipartisan 100% of the time, right? They don't care.
Yes.
And this is not effective criticism. It's good. It's good in the sense of, like, balance of forces wise, that the press is not so in the bag for this war like they were for the Iraq war. It's good that people are hedging their bets because they see that this is going to fail. I like seeing the fear in their eyes. But this is not a sufficient criticism or a useful criticism. This is Thomas Friedman wanting to be able to say in 10 years, well, I had my criticisms, when everyone looks back on this as an unmitigated disaster.
That's exactly the tack that he took with Iraq, right? He was all for going in and, this is what we got to do to topple a thug, like Saddam Hussein, right? We got to teach him a lesson, right? He said that about Iraq, and then he turned around and he said, I have problems with, like, how Bush is, like, trying to do statecraft here. Like, he said that about Iraq. He said Israel needs to bomb Lebanon to teach them a lesson, right? He is a fucking thug, and it is astonishing to me that he still has the platform he does. This is a guy who said we should bomb Serbia back to 1389. All the civilian infrastructure. Like, isn't that illegal? Isn't it illegal to call for war crimes as a journalist?
It is not, because Israel does it.
It might technically be illegal, but it's illegal if you get in trouble for it. I say this not as obviously fuck Thomas Friedman, but not just as a fuck Thomas Friedman, but as I read like 10 of these, and they all read like this, and this was like the best synthesis of it I could find. And the fact that this guy's been around for a minute, it's like this guy's got a record and has done this before. That's what I find this to be interesting. Thomas Friedman is not an outlier. He is like the norm. This is go read. There are pro op-eds, and then there are the anti-op-eds, and the anti-op-eds read like this one in every major paper and in institution. Now there are, like Liberation News and like Breakthrough News and like, outlets like that are going to be, but they are, those are the hard left outlets, the ones that they do their absolute best to marginalize. And hence the battle for the narrative, right? The one that we find ourselves engaging in. So we find ourselves in this struggle, and this is going to become increasingly unpopular. It is disgusting to me, and I've discussed it with my population that the population of the United States, that gas prices is more upsetting to them than murdered people, but gas prices are upsetting to them, and they are not going to get better. The shocks from this, if this ended today, the shocks from this are going to reverberate for a while. This is going to affect harvests. This is going to affect fucking literally like the silicon and shit that needs to go into the chips that make these AI distribution centers. It's going to affect that. It's going to affect the cost of medicine. It's going to affect like there is nothing this is not going to impact. And there is genuinely frustration around the world for everything, like all the cost of living here. There are gas stations in Vietnam right now where you just can't get gas because of this shit. And I mean, gas in Europe has doubled in price. Gas in large parts of Asia is inaccessible. People are going to go genuinely hungry at a serious scale in places like Africa, or in large parts of Africa, if like fertilizer is not able to get through. And China right now is making deals with Iran to get their shit through. But if the U.S. launches an invasion of Karg Island and tries to seize the strait and do like reverse whatever, and the whole place is just a war zone for who knows how long, then there will be like a third of global fertilizer will not get distributed for this planting season. And it's got to get distributed in the next month or two. That's how this shit works. So this is going to have reverberating consequences on a gigantic scale. And we're past predicting what this is going to go to, but we have to use everything in our power to levy criticism where it deserves, whatever. It's an Iranian blockade, but we know why they did it. They said why they were going to do it. The blame lies squarely on the U.S. and Israel. And two, we have to, every bit of economic pain, turn it against our own ruling class and turn it against the war. And also, we need to be pointing out that people should also care about dead Iranians, because that also fucking matters. And I think that people care if they think about it, but they don't stop to think about it. And they're forced to think about this economic stuff in a way that they're not forced to confront this other stuff. And it is incumbent on us to make people confront that fact of that human suffering, that these are real humans. These aren't robots. They're not automatons. They're real fucking human beings. And that includes, the girls who died in the girls' school bombing, which that's able to break through in a way because people are able to humanize children, even if they're enemies a lot of the time. But like, the men too shouldn't be murdered. The adult women too shouldn't be murdered. None of these people should be fucking murdered. Like, Jesus Christ. But and we have to stress that to people, because the average person isn't pro murder. They just don't want to think about it. And they have to think about it because they're they are part of the system contributing to it. And the rest of the world sees their apathy, whether or not they feel like that makes them responsible for it.
And it's been slowly escalating, the organizing, right? Like, more people being interested in whether it's mutual aid or reading theory or talking about next steps or whatever it is. Like, the interest has been growing, right? And I talked to those, they're like 16 to like 24-year-olds. So like some of them are early high school education and some of them are just like community college students. I've been speaking to them for 3 years now, and this is the first year that, like, after the presentation, kids were coming up to me and like asking what books they should read. What do I do next? Like, do I read Lenin? Is that what I need to read? And I recommended some Parenti and some Lenin and some George Jackson, depending on like the kid and what we talked about. But like, there is, especially with the younger generation, right? Like, there is this desire, because I think the younger people aren't watching that CNN news, and they are seeing this girls' school that got blown up. And like, that news, like you mentioned, it did break through, but it took a while, and I don't think it didn't break through the way that if it happened here it would, right? Like, certainly not even close to that type of extent. I think that it is super unfortunate that it actually does take Americans personally having to feel something for them to give a shit. Like, I the lack of empathy scares me, and the lack of like internationalism scares me, that people aren't able to understand, even not just understand that like the struggle is connected, but understand that like maybe we shouldn't have blown up the school. Like, I don't know. If it is, that's what it takes, is gas being expensive and groceries becoming unaffordable, then you know what? So fucking be it. And like, we have to jump on this. And really, I think it's going to be really hard to make sure people don't, one, just fall into nihilism, or two, fall into this like right-wing populism, because this is also how fascism really takes hold. Is that we're given this scapegoat rather than understanding like what is really causing this. And I think it's super important for us, for people, even like left of liberal, to like really focus and make sure that we are as annoying as possible, like making sure that at every opportunity we're connecting these things for people so that they don't get sucked into the other side of this.
And I think it's worth noting, executive director of the Center on Conscience and War, Mike Preisner, recently went on Democracy Now's podcast and talked, and he said that he runs a really critical phone line for conscientious objectors in the military. and he said they've spiked literally over 1,000% over the last 2 weeks. And he said the number one thing is not people saying, I don't want to die for Israel, because that's what the interviewer said. They don't want to die for Israel. And he said, well, people have said that. He said the number one thing have been people saying, I saw that video of the girls' school and I realized I've been lied to.
Oh, shit.
And that gave me a spark of like, I mean, I want people to leave no matter the reason. And if the reason is fear of death, by all means.
Yeah.
But if you have no danger of death, you should quit this shit. If you are if you're sitting on your computer with an Xbox controller controlling drones, dropping bombs, you're probably not going to face any material consequences for your actions. And yet you have more reason than anyone to drop that fucking controller, or better yet, do something else with the drone you currently have control over, whatever that might be. Be creative. Be creative. You'll be reincarnated as a lotus flower.
I think it's funny that you called him Michael Preisner, because I just call him Abby Martin's husband.
Well, I haven't met him.
It's History Month. What?
True. We have met. I do.
Mr.
I do know Mike.
Abby Martin.
I do know Mike. He's cool.
I'm sure he is.
There's more stuff, but we're a good bit over an hour here. I don't want people to despair. I want people to, I always say, to organize, to talk, to communicate. But I think it's very, very important that we speak very clearly about what's going on. We try our best not to fall into weird conspiracy or whatever. Even if it's like anti-imperialist conspiracy, don't do it. Speak the truth. Speak the whatever. Don't share AI videos of like fucking the Knesset being blown up. Like that didn't happen. So don't say it did. That's not helping. Be clear. Try to build community in real life with people who are clear. Try to speak truth to people. Try to speak empathy to people. Talk about what is actually happening. Be materialist. Be grounded. And take action in what way that you have the capacity to. And I know we have not many, but we have some military listeners. I've gotten in emails. It says we do. You know what position you're in, but you don't take part in this shit. Whatever that ends up looking like, do not take part in this shit. That's all I can say about that. Y'all have any closing thoughts here?
Lenore, you go, because I have something real stupid.
No, I mean you laid it up perfectly, Jacob. The correct position to hold if you're in the Imperial Core, and if your country is waging an imperialist war, right? Your enemy is your own state, right? Because how we got here is rampant American hegemony. We got here through a legacy of overthrow and of skullduggery and of innumerable crimes to make our ruling class the most obscenely wealthy and powerful that the world has ever seen, right? And if we don't want to go back there, we have to, it starts with us.
So when we were talking about right-wingers that have turned against Israel, I wondered what Alex Jones thinks. So I did a Google search. Is Alex Jones pro-Israel? And I pulled up this amazing article in the Jewish Chronicle. Quote, Israel created Hamas, and Netanyahu is the head of Hamas. Israel created Hamas, and he stabilizes it through his leadership. He funds them billions a year. Mossad is Hamas.
Well, I guess we've got a new type of guy just dropped. Leave it to Alex Jones to always have a thing that nobody's thought of before.
It's like, wait, take, yeah.
He's never right, but he's always going to come up with something that you've never thought of before. I did see him saying the pro-war people are what was it? The pro-war people have stolen Trump from us. It's like a man stealing your wife. And what do you do if a man is fucking your wife? You got to take her back.
Damn.
So that's how Alex Jones feels about it.
Alex Jones like cuck era.
Yeah, just imagining Trump getting
years
fucked.
Ago.
Yeah. Anyway,
well, it's
really
the
good.
Satanic cheerleaders that stole her from him.
It's got to be.
Were the Satanic cheerleaders Hamas?
It could be. They were Hamas. They were Mossad. They were the frogs that were turning gay. They were the walruses that are invading us. I still remember him saying, "We're being invaded by walruses." That's a classic.
Alex, come on the pod.
I have so many questions for him. They are not going to be nice questions. He's not going to like me afterwards, but I would have him on the pod. I would.
When
I
you
don't
come
think
to
we can,
Austin, let's interview him in person.
yeah, let's just harass him. We're gonna be
Oh my
like,
God.
Alex, big fan.
I'm gonna reach out to his people.
A
There's
couple
a form on the
questions.
website where you fill out if you want him to come on your show.
I would tell him more like info bores, and then he would break down crying
Damn.
and it would end
Got
his
his
whole
ass.
career.
Mm.
I'm gonna tell
Well,
him I know what happened to Building 7.
On that note, folks, thanks for listening, and see you next time.
Take care.
Bye bye.
Hey.